In her TED Talk, How to Make Stress Your Friend, Kelly McGonigal explains that stress itself isn't the problem, it's how we think about stress that matters. People who believe stress is harmful experience more negative health outcomes, but people who view stress as their body helping them, giving them energy, focus, and motivation, live longer. She also found that stress produces oxytocin, or the cuddle hormone, which encourages us to seek connection and support. Have you ever noticed how reaching out to someone during stress actually makes you feel a little lighter? Well, for me, it's an interesting shift because I've always believed stress is dangerous and something to try to mitigate. Interestingly, though, this way of thinking isn't that far off the conversations and mindset I've always tried to instill in my own children. Whenever it was time to do something scary, a music recital, a science fair, heading off to college, we'd talk about how their bodies were feeling. And it was usually nervous. I feel like I'm going to throw up. I'm so stressed out. And we'd laugh a little bit because we always laugh about everything and talk about how those feelings are the exact ones we have when we're super excited to do something too. The only difference is how we think about those feelings. When we're excited about a party, a date, a trip to Italy with a bunch of people we don't really know, we also feel a little bit like we're going to throw up, but in a good way. In my own life, I'd like to apply this in two ways. First, as a grad student, I'm reframing my stress about assignments and deadlines, and frankly, just being a student in general. Instead of thinking, this is going to kill me, I'm rusty, slow, I can't cope, I'm going to remind myself this adrenaline means I'm prepared to rise to the challenge. It means I still have the intensity inside me that makes me a good student. And I'm going to use those feelings to propel me into excelling in my classes. Second, I want to use stress as a signal to connect with others. For example, if I'm overwhelmed with work, I'll see it as an opportunity for connection with classmates or colleagues, which actually strengthens relationships. In the research I've read from John Gottman, every small bid for attention, bid for connection, whether it's asking for help, sharing a story, or offering support, it's not just a request. It's an act of vulnerability that can strengthen the relationship. And when those bids are met positively, the person making them feels supported and valued, which lowers their stress and reinforces trust in the relationship. It's like, have you ever offered a small gesture to someone, like asking for help, and just felt relief from being heard? That's exactly what Gottman's research highlights. With a client, I would help them reframe their stress response. For example, if someone feels short of breath or their heart is pounding before an interview, I'd encourage them to see that as their body getting ready to perform, not a danger signal. Like I always say with my kids, that feeling means you're about to do something special. I'd also highlight that stress often shows up in areas that really matter: family, relationships, meaningful goals. So instead of fearing stress, they can recognize it as a reminder of what's really important to them. And I think that's a really beautiful reframe. Now, it's important to distinguish stress from crisis. Stress comes from ongoing pressures like work, school, or finances in daily life. It can be managed with coping strategies like reframing. A crisis, however, is an acute event that overwhelms your ability to cope, like the sudden death of a loved one, a divorce, or a traumatic accident. In a crisis, strategies will be different. Safety comes first. Techniques to ground yourself and immediate stability measures are essential. Stress is about daily management, and crisis is about survival and recovery. Trauma-informed care principles emphasize that providing stability, predictability, and presence is critical when someone is experiencing a crisis. I've seen both personal and professional crisis. For example, when a colleague lost their child to a suicide, and another time when a colleague's young child was accidentally killed at home. In these moments, I saw how important it was to provide stability and simple presence rather than trying to fix the problem. These were impossible tragedies and they couldn't be fixed. Research on grief and resilience shows that what people need most during a crisis isn't someone to fix their pain. just someone to be in it with them. Personally, after those experiences, I found that journaling, talking to trusted friends, and seeking counseling for myself helped me process them. I also investigated research on the helpers and found work from Charles Figley and Beth Stam, showing that counselors who process their own reactions through supervision and support are less likely to feel burned out and find more meaning in their work. And that also validates McGonigal's note in her after her talk about why seeking meaning is important if a person chooses a stressful job. It's all part of that reframe. In the future, as a counselor, I want to keep building healthy ways to process and the impact of crisis so that I can stay grounded for others. Effective crisis counselors are calm under pressure, empathetic, excellent listeners, and non-judgmental. They also need to set healthy boundaries and communicate clearly. I bring empathy, strong communication, and a background in working with youth and families. Trauma-informed care teaches us to recognize the impact of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, on behavior and emotional regulation. Simply providing a space where a person can be heard and understood can reduce stress and build trust. I've had students and colleagues open up about family challenges or personal stress, and my ability to listen without judgment often allows them to feel seen and validated, I think. One question I sometimes reflect on: how can I respond in ways that meet both the person's needs and my own limits? What I hope to grow are my de-escalation skills and my ability to stay fully grounded when emotions become very intense. In my work with youth, I've noticed that moments of high emotion, whether frustration, fear, or grief, can escalate quickly if not met with calm, intentional guidance. Trauma-informed approaches, again, in ACEs training has helped me understand why these reactions happen. I want to continue developing strategies to maintain my own emotional regulation during these moments, using mindful breathing, grounding techniques, and utilizing supervision. By staying grounded, I can model calm behavior for the client and ensure that both of us feel safe. And strengthening these skills will allow me to respond to crisis with confidence, compassion, and resilience, ultimately helping the client feel seen, heard, and understood, even in their most intense moments. I think consultation and supervision will be essential in building these skills and preventing burnout. In my previous career, I experienced burnout, and it was absolutely awful. Thankfully, I was able to reflect and move on to something else before it made me physically sick. I wonder if I'd known about these thoughts on stress mindset before, if I'd been able to cope more positively within that job. Supervision and consultation give counselors a safe place to debrief, get feedback, and really importantly, check blind spots. They also remind us that we're not alone in our work. I see supervision as both professional growth and self-care. It will help me and help counselors stay resilient, compassionate, and sustainable in the field. Taken together, McGonigal's research on stress mindset, Gottman's research on bids for connection, and trauma-informed care principles show us that stress is not the enemy. It's a tool for growth and connection and resilience. By reframing stress, supporting others through their own challenges, and maintaining self-care and grounding, counselors can help both themselves and their clients thrive, even in high pressure or crisis situations. Okay, thank you.